Out here, the horizon plays tricks on you. When the heat rises off the asphalt in the middle of the Arizona desert, the air starts to shimmer like water. In that distortion, you see shapes that your brain can't quite categorize. You see a silhouette approaching in the distance, and at first it looks like a freight train that has somehow jumped the tracks. It's too long to be a truck. It's too sleek to be a building. But as it roars closer, pushing a wall of air ahead of it, the scale becomes undeniable. It is a machine that defies the logic of the road. It is a Peterbilt, a Kenworth, or a Volvo, but it has been mutated, evolved. The nose is classic, but the sleeper cab stretches back endlessly, a seamless expanse of polished aluminum and custom murals that seems to go on forever. This is not just a vehicle, it is a phenomenon. On the vast arteries of the American highway system, there exists a hierarchy. There are the commuters, the weekend warriors, the standard freight haulers, and then, at the very top of the food chain, there are the titans. We call them custom sleepers, but to the men and women who mortgage their lives to helm them, they are something else entirely. They are the answer to a life spent in motion. They are rolling apartments, engineering marvels, and the ultimate symbol of American independence. To understand why these leviathans exist, you have to understand the reality of the job. Trucking is not just a career, it is a lifestyle of isolation. For decades, the standard for a long-haul driver was a coffin-sized bunk behind the seats, a cooler full of melting ice, and a life lived in public rest stops. You ate fast food because you had no kitchen. You showered in questionable public stalls because you had no bathroom. You existed in a state of permanent camping, but without the scenery. But step inside one of these custom giants, and that reality shatters. The noise of the road drops to a whisper, insulated by layers of advanced sound dampening. You are no longer in a truck. You are in a high-end Manhattan studio apartment that just happens to be moving at 70 miles per hour. The door thuds shut with the weight of a bank vault, sealing out the grit and the noise. Look around. You see hand-scraped hardwood floors. You see ambient LED lighting glowing softly from behind crown molding. To your left, a galley kitchen that rivals what you'd find in a suburban home. We aren't talking about a hot plate strapped to a dashboard. We are talking about induction cooktops, convection microwaves capable of roasting a whole chicken, and deep stainless steel sinks with running hot water. There is a full-sized residential refrigerator stocked with fresh vegetables and steaks, not truck stop burritos. Walk further back, because you can actually walk, not crawl, and you find the holy grail of life on the road: a private bathroom, a shower with a sliding glass door and a ceramic toilet. It sounds simple to anyone living in a house, but to a trucker, the ability to shower in your own private space, with your own towels, whenever you want, is the ultimate luxury. It is the restoration of dignity. At the rear, the space opens up into a bedroom. Not a bunk, but a bedroom. A queen-sized mattress sits under a skylight, allowing you to watch the stars over the Nevada desert as you drift off. There are fold-out oak desks where owner-operators run their logistics empires, tracking freight rates and fuel prices on laptops connected to Starlink satellite internet. It is a masterclass in spatial efficiency. Every square inch is claimed. Every cabinet is meticulously planned with heavy-duty latching mechanisms because the designers know that when you hit the brakes, loose objects become dangerous projectiles. But a rig like this is not just about comfort, it is a triumph of engineering. You don't just walk onto a dealership lot and buy a truck with a 20-foot sleeper. You have to build it. And you don't build these monsters with guesswork. You build them with physics. The process begins with what is known as a frame extension, or stretching the rails. Mechanics take a factory-standard truck chassis, strip it bare, and literally cut it in half. It looks violent, like an autopsy, but it is actually structural surgery. To extend a truck's wheelbase to over 300 inches, lengths that rival city buses, requires a deep understanding of metallurgy and stress dynamics. People often think you can just weld a new piece of metal to the back and call it a day. If you do that, the truck will snap in half at the first pothole. The engineering challenge is fighting gravity and vibration. The torque twisting through that frame when the engine pulls a heavy load is catastrophic if the structure isn't sound. To solve this, Engineers use a technique called the splice. They insert a sleeve, a liner, inside the frame rails. Then, they use fish plates, which are internal steel reinforcements hidden inside the C-channel of the frame. It's like a splint for a broken bone, but made of hardened steel. And when they weld it together, they don't just run a continuous bead of fire. They use a skip weld pattern. They stitch the metal. If you weld a solid line across a truck frame, you create a heat-affected zone where the steel becomes brittle. On the highway, brittle means cracks. The truck needs to be rigid enough to carry the load, but flexible enough to breathe and flex with the undulations of the road. This is where the bureaucracy meets the blowtorch. This isn't the Wild West. Every bolt, every splice, every weight distribution calculation must be reviewed by a licensed professional engineer. Without that certified PE stamp on the blueprints, the rig is just illegal scrap metal. With it, it becomes a federally recognized commercial vehicle capable of crossing state lines and passing through Department of Transportation inspections without fear. And then there is the question of power. Luxury is heavy. When you add a custom sleeper body made of aluminum and steel, plus 60 gallons of fresh water, plus hardwood cabinetry, plus a generator, and then you hook up a fully loaded 53-foot trailer, you are pushing the gross vehicle weight rating to the absolute limit. To move a rolling condo up a 6% grade in the Rocky Mountains, you need a monster under the hood. The standard heart of these beasts is the 15-liter diesel engine. But these aren't stock engines. They are tuned for war. We are talking about 600 horsepower, which sounds impressive. But the real number that matters is torque. These engines produce over 2,050 pound-feet of torque. Torque is the muscle. Torque is what moves mountains. When you demand that much power, heat becomes the enemy. The stock cooling systems on normal trucks often surrender under the strain of a custom sleeper. So the builders tear them out. They install enhanced radiators with more cores, high-flow water pumps, and massive charge air coolers. If the cooling system fails on a mountain pass, you aren't just stuck. You are stranded with a house you can't tow. Reliability is not a feature, it is a necessity. You might be wondering about the legality of it all. How can a vehicle the size of a blue whale navigate public roads alongside compact cars? The answer lies in the Surface Transportation Assistance Act. Federal law is surprisingly permissive regarding the tractor itself. There is no federal limit on the overall length of the truck combination, provided the trailer fits standard dimensions and the rig stays on the national network, the interstate highway system. However, driving one of these is a game of strategy. It requires a different kind of pilot. You have to drive 10 seconds into the future. You aren't driving where you are driving where you are going to be. You cannot take a 260-inch wheelbase into downtown Boston or a tight drive-through. You plan your routes. You stick to the wide lanes. You need permits for certain back roads. But out there on the open interstate, you are king. For some drivers, the sleeper isn't just for living. It's for playing. There is a configuration known as the toy hauler. In these ultra-custom builds, the rear of the sleeper opens up hydraulically to reveal a garage. Yes, a garage inside the truck. Reinforced flooring and heavy-duty D-rings allow drivers to park a full-sized Harley-Davidson motorcycle or an ATV right inside their bedroom. Imagine the lifestyle. You haul freight from New York to Florida, drop your trailer, unload your motorcycle, and spend the weekend riding along the coast. You are a tourist who gets paid to travel. It blurs the line between work and vacation until the line disappears completely. As the sun sets and the day turns to twilight, the engineering fades into the background and the artistry takes center stage. This is where the culture of the custom sleeper really shines. There is an old trucking mantra, pride in your ride. For these drivers, it is almost a religion. The exteriors of these trucks are canvases. You see hand-painted murals that cost thousands of dollars, airbrushed scenes of desert storms, patriotic motifs, or tributes to family members. And then there are the lights. Federal regulations state that any vehicle wider than 80 inches requires marker lights. These drivers take that rule and turn it into an art form. You will see amber LED marker lights spaced exactly every 6 feet along the sleeper, creating a rhythmic glow that cuts through the darkness. Underglow lighting reflects off the chrome fuel tanks, creating a halo effect on the pavement. When a rig like this pulls into a truck stop at night, the atmosphere changes. It breaks the isolation. Other drivers stare. People walk over to ask questions. It becomes a campfire, a gathering point. In a profession that is defined by loneliness, the custom truck is a conversation starter. It makes you visible in a world that often ignores the people who deliver its goods. So, why do they do it? Why spend $300,000, $400,000, sometimes $500,000 on a work vehicle? Why navigate the legal labyrinth and the mechanical headaches? It is because the custom sleeper is a rebellion. In an era of efficiency, where logistics are ruled by cold spreadsheets, algorithms, and autonomous tracking, this is a declaration that the human element still matters. It is a refusal to be treated like a machine. These rolling palaces prove that you don't have to sacrifice comfort for duty. They prove that home isn't a zip code or a foundation poured in concrete. For these drivers, home is 18 wheels, 600 horsepower, and the freedom to wake up in a different state every morning without ever leaving your living room. It is a unique slice of the American dream, forged in steel and diesel. It is the ability to look at the endless, daunting stretch of highway and say, I am not just surviving this, I am living it. And as they hammer down the left lane, chasing the sunrise, they carry with them the spirit of the modern nomad. Comfortable, powerful, and undeniably free.